So then I think Mr. Bates would be.
It's my turn. Because I have so much to say, I couldn't memorize it, so I wrote it down. And I'm going to give each of you a copy so you can read along with me. And I'll share books too, and also with the clerk recorder. My name's Stephen Bates. I'm a 35-year resident of Warren. I own 2 small businesses, and I've paid taxes to you folks for a long, long time. I complained about it, and for 25 years I complained about it, but I had to make a living and didn't have time to do anything about it. Now that I'm semi-retired, I had time to do something about it, and that's why we're sitting here today. Honorable members of the TriMet Board, I present to you today my response to the hearings officer's findings of facts and conclusion of law regarding the proposed withdrawal of the boring area from TriMet. First, I wish to compliment the manner in which the employees of TriMet have carried out their responsibilities as the result of the submittal of our petition to withdraw on August 30th, 2011. They have acted in the most professional manner and have treated all with respect and diligence, and I appreciate that. Secondly, I wish to compliment the board on the selection of Judge Sid Rockley as the hearings officer. His reputation in the field of law appears to be flawless. However, the hearings officer failed to identify certain facts which were entered into the record, and he entered evidence as fact which is not germane to ORS 267. They are: Boring is a rural area. Walking the rural roads of Boring to the 2 Boring bus stops is both dangerous and arduous. Over 60% of the residents live more than 1/2 mile from a scheduled bus stop. A federal government study referenced by a TriMet representative in a public meeting in Boring stated that most anyone inclined to use public transportation will not walk more than 1/2 mile to a bus stop. This explains why there is little or no use of TriMet's scheduled bus service in Boring. According to the TriMet study, there is only an average of 3 boardings per day in Boring. This establishes as fact that an urban transit service is not needed or wanted in the rural Boring area. The hearings officer failed to identify the fact, which is part of the record, that the people of Boring met with TriMet officials and asked for more bus stops, not more round trips, more bus stops, and more bus service to make services such as the lift available to more handicapped people, especially in South Boring where there's no service at all. I happen to live in South Boring. We even asked for a bus stop at Guide Dogs for the Blind, but TriMet said no. The hearings officer stated that both proponents and opponents of withdrawal stated agreement that the TriMet service in Boring is inadequate and not a good value for the tax dollars spent. The hearings officer failed to identify as fact that 1,118 citizens signed the subject petition to withdraw. There were 844 signatures certified as registered voters within the withdrawal area. As the signature pages containing the names of these citizens were entered into the record, these citizens' preference in favor of withdrawal was ignored by the hearings officer and not referenced as fact. The hearings officer stated that the proponents of withdrawal did not provide a credible alternative service plan. ORS 267 does not require an alternative service plan, and his finding of fact is inadmissible and not germane to the withdrawal petition. Furthermore, when the people of Boring asked TriMet for help in making sure that the handicapped in South Boring received lift eligibility, TriMet said no. The hearings officer stated that there are a significant number of vulnerable citizens who reside in the Boring area. This is not fact. Significant, according to Webster's dictionary, states the definition of significant is measurably a large amount. According to the TriMet study, it was stated that there were 31 Boring residents who were lift eligible who used the lift service at least once in the past 15 months. In the exhibits and testimony at the hearing, at least 6 people said they lived outside of the TriMet district, Sandy and Damascus, and used a Boring address to access lift service. This means there are less lift clients within the Boring area, which is not a significant number. 7,800 is a significant number. That is the estimated population of the withdrawal area according to the TriMet study. According to the Clackamas County Clerk, 4,689 of the population are registered voters. 18% of those registered voters affixed their signature to the petition to withdraw Boring. This is a significant amount, and it is part of the record and is fact. The hearings officer failed to identify the fact of the damage done to the Boring economy by TriMet fees and taxes. By his silence, it would appear that he agrees that the electors and businesses of Boring demonstrated adequately that the Boring economy is damaged by TriMet fees and taxes. To continue with the paltry TriMet service in exchange for high taxes would further damage the economy in Boring. I cannot challenge the hearing officer's interpretation of the law, as he's a retired judge and I'm a lay person. But I can challenge his conclusions of law, as he utilized only selected portions of fact to arrive at his conclusion and recommendation. He stated that the evidence does not show withdrawal would be in the best interest of the affected area. He only took into consideration the portions of the record that he deemed necessary to come to this conclusion. He did not take into account the following items in the record which demonstrate a different conclusion. The greatest majority of respondents, counting the petition signatures combined with all written and verbal testimony, are in favor of withdrawal. TriMet refused to improve the inadequate service to the affected area. TriMet has left over 60% of the Boring population without the ability to use TriMet's fixed route service or the lift service. By this refusal, TriMet has picked winners and losers. The winners are those who live in North Boring and are close to a bus stop or Line 84. The losers are the residents, able-bodied and handicapped, that live in South Boring, where there is no service. The percentage of the population served by TriMet is insignificant. At best, 30 residents of Boring utilize TriMet's Boring-based services on a daily basis. This is less than 1/2 of 1% of the population. TriMet's fees and taxes harm the Boring economy. This fact was identified by the hearings officer when he stated that it is probable that the expenditures of TriMet are far less than the taxes paid. In addition, in the original petition filing and in subsequent testimony, it was stated that these fees and taxes affect jobs in Boring. The hearings officer stated that the disabled and elderly value and need the lift service. The hearings officer's reference to the elderly as using the lift service is not germane to this case or any case involving the lift service. Being elderly does not qualify one for lift service. This was stated in testimony, yet the hearings officer ignored it. TriMet's own rules state you must be disabled to utilize the lift service. The hearings officer stated that withdrawal does not solve the problem. He's wrong. Withdrawal solves all of the problems for Boring. No longer would Boring pay high taxes to TriMet for inadequate service. No longer would Boring's economy be negatively affected by TriMet fees and taxes. Boring could have more jobs. Rural Boring would not have an urban service it does not want or need. Therefore, I can come to a different conclusion. Withdrawal of the Boring area will be in the best interest of the affected area, as it will help improve its economy and provide more jobs. Furthermore, withdrawal of the Boring area will be the best for the TriMet district, as the expenses of serving the Boring area will be deleted, will be deleted and reduce TriMet's budget deficit. In conclusion, withdrawal should be approved for these reasons as required by ORS 267.257 subsection 4. I stand before you urging approval of the Boring withdrawal petition. However, if you're not sure you want to vote accordingly, I ask for you to consider this. The people of Boring exercised their democratic rights by submitting the petition to withdraw the Boring area from the TriMet Transit District. In good faith, this effort was based upon the fact that every withdrawal petition from the TriMet district had been approved in the past. In addition, the electors and businesses of Boring met every requirement of ORS 267.257, with the exception of the direct service issue, which we had no control over. You have before you the first findings of fact and conclusion of law that recommends denial of a withdrawal petition. According to the history I have obtained, this has never happened before. We hold democracy dearly. Abraham Lincoln said that government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. Yet this board is 7 minus 1. The Clackamas County seat is empty. The people of Clackamas County, and Boring in particular, are not represented for this vote. Furthermore, each of you is appointed by the governor. You are not elected officials. You are the governor's representatives. Many people are not comfortable with this fact, but I have told them that this is the way the statute was written and we have to accept it. Many people who signed the petition for withdrawal asked if the issue would be on the ballot. We had to tell them no. We had to tell them that a board of unelected officials will make the decision. Most people were not pleased with this. But this board, under the auspices of ORS 267.170, can refer this withdrawal ordinance to the people for a vote. As the effective date would be January 1, 2013, this could be placed on the ballot for the May primary election. This is a great compromise. As shown in this testimony, it would be easy to arrive at a different conclusion than the one given to you by the hearings officer. I suggest to you that accepting the hearing officer's conclusion and denying this withdrawal petition may lead to a judge from a Clackamas County Circuit Court looking at the record and finding a different conclusion, which could be appealed all the way to the state Supreme Court. This board can avoid prolonged visits to the courts by asking the people to decide. Not just the people in Boring, but every voting citizen within the TriMet district. This is democracy. The people of Boring would accept this. I ask that this board accept this and agree to refer this to a vote of the people. Respectfully submitted, Stephen L. Bates, Chief Petitioner.
Thank you.